Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of Nintendo
A New
Therapy,
Hope.
a show a show about the latest Nintendo news and rumors, as well as a celebration of all things Nintendo. Are we going to name them after Star Wars movies then, Sean, from until we hit 9?
Well, no, because we've already skipped the prequels.
Oh, yeah. As should most people. No,
No,
I'm not going to
no.
dump on the prequels. There's some stuff in there I like. Anyway, how's your week been? It's just you and me this week. How has your video gaming been? What have you been playing? What are you up to?
So
I'm guessing GoldenEye.
I did play GoldenEye. The campaign I think holds up pretty well.
I was amazed. I forgot how good the
The music
music in
is
that game
awesome in
was.
that game. Like,
Which is weird because it's not like I'm not one of those people who haven't played it since the Nintendo 64 days. Like you and I even played it like a couple of years ago. So I think it's probably been less than 5 years since I did like a full run through of the game, and my brain didn't retain any of it.
yeah, I'm stuck on a mission because I can't keep quite track of the objectives I'm supposed to do. It's the one where you got to blow the helicopter up and then disrupt the communications to the bunker.
Oh yeah, you blow the helicopter up last. It's right near the exit.
Okay. I guess I keep doing it out of order, but on the other hand, I tried the multiplayer and it does not hold up.
Oh, did you do it on like online
I haven't
multiplayer?
had a chance because, and I didn't know this. I
Okay.
guess Nintendo Online you can only play with your friends, which is fine.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I'm,
Well, you and I should meet up. We could probably get our friend Nick on
yeah.
there.
So, but I've tried it in person, and yeah, it's interesting. It was entertaining just to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, and the second stick doesn't do what it does in every other shooter now, and so I mean I've had fun with it.
Well, I've seen people online post a long, complicated
Yes.
way where you can make it have traditional first-person shooter controls, and I don't hate the controls enough to go through everything on that list, but it might be something you want to
No,
try.
no, I've seen that same list, and it's like it alters your controller like in general or something, and then you have to go back and change it if you're gonna
Oh,
play something else. And I was like, no, that's too much work.
yeah, that
So I
makes
mean, I'm
sense.
having fun with it, but yeah, even like the pause menu has an amazing song, so I think that's hilarious. And I mean, it looks pretty good. I gotta say, I didn't know how it would be visually, but it don't look too bad.
Well, yeah, I even saw somebody because, of course, everybody's posting about playing GoldenEye this week, and you've got the hot takes that are out there as well. And one that stuck with me was somebody saying that Turok 2 is Seeds of Evil. Let's
Oh
get the
yeah,
whole title out. Turok 2 Seeds of Evil is better than GoldenEye. And I just got to say, hot take, wrong.
I don't remember enough
Like,
of
it's a good.
Turok 2 to even be able to give an opinion.
All right, let me refresh your memory. The music is nowhere near there.
Oh
We've already
yeah, no.
talked about how GoldenEye has great music. The thing that really kills it, and I'll admit the C button controls scheme they have in Turok is kind of better. But the thing that really kills it is there's a lot of platforming in Turok, and it's like you need to like look down at the ground to like make your jumps work,
Ooh,
and it's just not fun to do. So the platforming really
yeah. I think the
kills
fact
Turok if
that
I had to compare the two.
GoldenEye has no platforming is kind of nice.
Yep. It knows it's simple, it knows what it's doing.
I kind of enjoyed
I'd
the enemy
also
AI too. Like it's not amazing, but like it's just funny to watch them like roll out of the way and then start shooting at you.
well, that's another thing Turok kind of has over GoldenEye is that at the time they like one of the selling points of Turok 2 in the magazines was they talked about how the AI was like such a leap forward, and it really doesn't look like it by today's standards, but I guess it
I
is.
feel like
It, they,
Perfect Dark maybe has that over GoldenEye.
But another thing that kills Turok is, in my opinion, the weapons are better in GoldenEye because in Turok, there's a lot of times where you're out of ammo for everything. And that never happens in
Yeah, that's
GoldenEye
true.
unless you're playing on like the hardest difficulties. And even then, I don't think ammo is an issue. It's just getting shot.
Yeah. So I've been enjoying it. I mean, I kind of had reasonable expectations also. So
We're also, I've been thinking a lot lately about, unless you had more thoughts about what you were playing.
the only other thing I was playing, so I've been slowly going through my wife's games, and I played Yoshi's Crafted World like Sunday afternoon.
I have that on the Wii U. It's on my list of games to play.
Is it
How was it?
Crafted World on Wii U or is it Woolly World?
Woolly, oh, I'm sorry. I confused the two. Yeah, I have
Okay.
Woolly World.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. You know, I beat it in an afternoon. It's not challenging, but you know, hitting my head against the wall in Zelda and then doing my Souls thing non Nintendo wise. I was like, you know what? Just want something simple. And you know, I enjoyed it. The last one I played was Super Mario World 2. So it was kind of fun to go back into a Yoshi and funny to have it where when you throw eggs, it doesn't do that the cursor moves thing. Now you just pick where you want to throw it. But it was fun. It
Oh, they
was,
fixed.
you know, it looks like a bunch of little kids made all the levels and the bosses, so that was kind of a cool aesthetic. And you're still going after Bowser Jr. and Magic Koopa, and yeah, I don't know. It was a fun play. You know, I mean, I'm never gonna get to it again, but I had fun with it, enjoyed it.
Good. Yeah, that's, I mean, we'll talk about at the end of this episode. You remember last week, listeners, our random pick was Kirby's Adventure. And I feel like those two are very comparable, where like sometimes it's not about playing a challenging game. Like sometimes you just want a cute game that you can blow through.
Have you been playing anything, or has it just been GoldenEye?
I played a lot of GoldenEye, played a lot of
Oh
Grandia,
yeah,
and trying to get to the end of that before my vacation, which I think I'll make it. According to the walkthrough that I told you last week, I loaded up. I'm just looking at the table of contents to see
where
like
you are.
how far into the game I am. And it looks like I'm like about 3/4 of the way into the game. Like I don't have a whole lot
Oh, cool.
left on their on how they separate the different chapters. Where at the time we record this, 100 days away from Tears of the
Oh yeah, I
Kingdom.
saw that. That's kind of exciting.
So I wanted to talk about Zelda for a second. You texted me this week asking what you think Tears of the Kingdom's going to be like gameplay
Yeah.
style. I don't think Nintendo's going to mess with the formula. I think it's going to be very similar to Breath of the Wild. Uh, just like some new abilities on your Sheikah slate. I think the weapons are still going to break,
Mm-hmm.
even though people hated it. I never had a problem with it. I have been saying, though, I wish they would put a blacksmith in the towns that changes that charges money to repair the weapons. And like you could have it so we can only fix weapons that are about to break. That would put like a little bit of a skill in it for you, because you know how they like glow
Yeah.
red right before they break. Like he only fixes those. Like he won't fix like a new
Okay.
weapon. And then rupees would never become useless because you'd always have a need for them because weapons are always breaking. So you would always have because in every Zelda game, for the most part, there comes a moment in the game where you just don't need money anymore. You've bought everything, you're done. And if the weapons are always breaking and someone charges money to fix them, you'll always need money.
I was always kind of okay with that gameplay mechanic, honestly.
Yeah, because like it's never like you're out of weapons. Like if anything, I don't have enough inventory slots for all the weapons I get.
And it's not, you know, the Master Sword, it's got the charge thing, but at least that doesn't break, so.
And then also this week I was talking online because everyone's talking about Zelda. and I forget what it was. Somebody posted something about the Zelda timeline, and I think I'm going to start a project because I'm already playing Skyward Sword
Mm-hmm.
HD. So I'm going to start a project where I'm going to go through the Zelda games in timeline order because I'm already at the beginning. And I don't think the timeline works. So I'm going to make a list of all the inconsistencies I can find because that thing I think is garbage. It was put together because fans kept asking for a timeline, and like there can't be a fallen hero timeline, you know? Like it doesn't make any sense. There would be a timeline split of every Zelda game if that were the case. Here's what happens if he dies in Majora's Mask. Here's what happens if he dies in Twilight Princess, you know? So that doesn't make any sense.
Bringing it back around to James Bond, I've always just seen the Zelda games as here's another adventure with Link.
Yeah, and even the ones that are direct sequels don't really link up. I feel like Tears of the Kingdom is going to be the first Zelda game that feels like a true sequel. Because even the most connected ones, like the one you would automatically go to is Majora's Mask, because it uses so much of Ocarina of Time's
I'd
DNA.
say the original two games, maybe.
But how they're not really sequels. Like, does anybody really play Adventure of Link thinking that it connects in any way back to that first game? It really doesn't.
Well, you're trying to
Same thing with
stop
Majora's Mask.
Ganon.
Majora's Mask is in an alternate universe.
Well, yeah, and that was also a how fast can you make a Zelda game?
Exactly. And it's like, I know at the beginning he's looking for Navi, but like, do most people playing the game know that? Probably not. They don't mention it in the game
And
ever
does anyone
that
really
he's looking for
miss
Navi.
Navi?
And the only other thing that connects that game is that one Zelda flashback when you pick up the ocarina.
I forgot you even have
But
the ocarina in that game.
yeah, and I don't know. I feel like Tears of the Kingdom is going to be the first Zelda game where I'm like, this is a sequel. Like this, all the character, because the Breath of the Wild was one of the most story-driven Zeldas we've ever had yet. So they have characters and it's story threads and things to follow through with,
Yeah.
which is something they haven't really had before. But the timeline doesn't make any sense, man. Like the geography of Hyrule keeps changing, like where the Temple of Time and Death Mountain moves around. Like you can't move a
Kingdoms
mountain,
in the sky. No,
and
now it's underwater.
people will defend it and be like, "Oh, that's just so they can make a video game." Well, if you're making a video game and saying this is all in the same universe and the same timeline, then you shouldn't change the geography that much. It's not that big an ask to say, "Okay, this is a sequel to this game. You keep the mountain in the same place." You know what I mean? Like, um,
That's
the
actually why
one
Ganon keeps coming back because they keep moving the mountain on him.
the one that drives me the craziest as far as the geography is Twilight Princess. Like, I can't figure out because you in that one you go to the like ruins of the Temple of Time,
Oh yeah.
and it's supposed to be the same Temple of Time from Ocarina of Time, but like where it is on the map doesn't make any sense, especially if you consider the Lost Woods being like the Temple of Time wasn't in the Lost Woods. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I just see it as a different story, just with the same names and characters.
Yeah, me too. Even the direct sequels, like I said, like I mostly play those as their own standalone adventures, which it's like the other one kind of happened. You know what I mean? It's like each one is like a retcon where you're like, okay, I can kind of imagine that the previous Zelda happened, but it couldn't have happened exactly the way it happens when you're playing that game because it never lines up right.
I feel like the first two do. Because I mean, the entire point of the second game is to stop Ganon from coming back.
Yeah, but you could say that
Yeah, yeah. I guess you could.
that could be the first game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I guess you could argue that. I mean, but to me, those are the only two that really
Now there's towns. There were never
Yeah,
towns in the
okay.
first one.
All right, you're deconstructing it as I'm defending it. So you're right.
The temples are way
I am
different.
error.
I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not saying Adventure of Link isn't a sequel. Like, I'm not that crazy. I know it's a sequel. I'm just saying the timeline doesn't work.
I agree.
All right, moving on to new business. So Nintendo news this week. We'll start off with this one. This one just broke a few hours ago. It seems as though this should actually go under rumors, but I put it in the wrong spot, so I'm going to read it here. This is more of a rumor than news, but it seems as though the Lego company or the Lego group could be partnering with Nintendo on more than just Super Mario Brothers, the movie stuff. A Lego-based fan site says that one of their readers recently participated in a Lego group marketing survey. The survey included a variety of Lego sets for entertainment franchises. One of the sets, which could supposedly make its way to retailers, is the Great Deku Tree, which made its debut in Ocarina of Time.
That'd be cool.
It should be stated that these sets could potentially make their way to retail and that none of these sets have been confirmed by either Lego or Nintendo. So, yeah, they might be doing some Zelda Lego sets. It would be cool. I'll never end up with one.
No.
Like I love that Bowser. That Bowser set is gorgeous, but I just don't have $300 for a Lego set. I would use that money for so many other things first. But if you're a Lego collector, and you're a Nintendo fan, this is good news on both fronts.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
You might have some more stuff coming. What type of Lego sets would you like to see if they did like all of Nintendo, if they were diving deep on everything? I can think of some right off the top of my head right now.
Oh, definitely like a Congo Jungle Donkey Kong set.
Ooh. Or like, how about the arcade Donkey Kong?
Oh,
like
yeah,
you
that'd
build
be cool too. You build the
actual ladder thing. Yeah. I think it would be really cool to have an R-Wing, like the Star Fox
that would be
ship.
awesome.
Be a good Lego set. You could build Samus's helmet.
Yep, that would work really. A Ridley or a Metroid itself. That would probably work well.
Yeah, that's like the dragon thing, right?
Ridley is, yeah.
Yeah. What else? What else is Nintendo?
You could probably do some cool Splatoon Legos.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a Yoshi one. A Yoshi egg, maybe, that's like half cracked and like there's like a baby Yoshi inside of it or something.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Be a good Lego.
A Sonic one, just for the heck of it. Actually,
Crash Bandicoot.
Lego Green Hill Zone would be cool.
What else? Yeah, this really any Nintendo game you can think of, you could throw something out there because
Luigi's Mansion. That would probably be cool.
That would be amazing. With him with like the vacuum pack on.
Yeah, that, or if you could build the mansion and it came with like a King Boo you could make.
Yeah. Okay, so other news, E3 is supposed to be returning later this year.
No one cares.
And yeah, in fact, it's already been confirmed by the ESA and ReedPop. I don't know what this is. To be returning in June 13th through the 16th. However, it is highly dependent on what video game companies will be participating in the event this year. Sadly, that is already showing signs of concern. IGN has reported that Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony are not going to be part of the E3 2023 or have presence on the Los Angeles Convention Center show floor.
They don't need
So
to.
it's
They all have their own events now.
let me finish reading the story. Microsoft has already confirmed that they'll be doing a showcase around E3 time, but despite expressing support for E3 recently, it won't be anything more than that. So yeah, I agree with you. E3, it's a outdated thing. It used to exist so that like magazine companies could all get together and see everything that's coming out all at once and put out a big issue. Like, and then it moved on to bloggers, and then it moved on to people with YouTube channels, and now everyone just does their stuff. The companies just release their stuff directly. Nintendo's got their Nintendo Directs, and everyone's got their own show.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess kudos for trying to bring it back, but I mean, really, what are you going to have?
Well, it sounds like since they're not all participating, uh, it'll just be all indie
Yeah,
stuff.
but that's why you have packs and stuff like that. So, I
That's
don't
true.
know.
Yeah, but I mean that's at a different time. So maybe if there's an indie that wants to announce itself, around E3 time, they're clearly not going to have a big show.
I don't
So,
think they're going to have a show.
which is interesting because like it's clear why Nintendo's not going to be there. Since we're a Nintendo podcast, we can focus on that one. They don't have anything to announce. And again, I said last week the increased production on the Switch base model should have been the final nail in the coffin of a Switch Pro. Here's more evidence that a Switch Pro is probably not getting announced because if you thought they were going to announce it there's still people online that think the next Nintendo Direct will announce either a Switch Pro or the next Nintendo system. And I'm sorry, guys, it's just not going to happen because they would be at E3 this year if that were the case. They'd announce it in their Nintendo Direct and then they'd give us a big showcase at E3. This is more evidence that Nintendo is just keeping on with the Switch. It's not doing anything new.
If they did go to E3, they just come out and go, so Tears of the Kingdom came out last month. And that'd be the presentation.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There's no, and they haven't announced any big games. They have Pikmin 4, which last week I predicted the Nintendo Direct will give us a release date for. But Pikmin isn't a game that you like build a whole E3 presentation around.
Well,
It's a big game, but it's not a AAA. It's not a Mario, it's not a Zelda. Even Metroid, if they were to talk about Metroid Prime 4, I don't know if that's as big as a Mario or a Zelda or something or a new system or something that would drive like a big E3 show.
yeah, and I feel like in the past few years, Nintendo's kind of withdrawn from E3 anyway.
And this kind of goes with a rumor that I wasn't going to bring up, but what the heck, it fits with it. IGN was saying that there's a rumor, and it's been going around, that Tears of the Kingdom is Nintendo's last big release for the Switch, period. And they definitely, like I already mentioned, Pikmin, like they definitely have other games that they've mentioned they're putting out, but I would believe it's definitely not going to be Nintendo's last release for Switch,
No.
but it might be their last on that scale, on that level
I mean,
of a game that moves systems, like Pokemon. There's one I couldn't think of a second ago. Like Pokemon is a thing you build a whole presentation
I
around.
feel like Odyssey 2 or whatever the next Mario game, because I'm sure there'll be another Mario game before they switch over.
Could be. We'll see. Could be just DLC. I don't even know how that works. Can you just decide to do DLC if it wasn't programmed ahead of time?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I know on like other platforms you can, but I don't know if you can on the Switch.
Yeah, because I know a
I
lot of
don't
Tears of
know.
the Kingdom, whatever they're doing with it was stuff that they weren't able to put in the Breath of the Wild DLC. So
Next news item: Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe is the next big first party Nintendo game, and it's scheduled to release next month. Interesting. The back of Kirby's what? All right, I'm just gonna skip to the part that I understand. um, so there's going to be a new epilogue in Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Basically, is the story. They didn't give much of details on how long it's going to be or anything like that, but I think this is really cool. I think that's something Nintendo should keep doing, like how they added Bowser's Fury onto 3D World when it was a re-release, or when they did New Super Mario Brothers Wii U Deluxe plus Luigi on the Switch.
Yeah, I think Xenoblade, not. I don't think it's just the Switch one, but one of the releases of that added content. So yeah.
Like if you're going to be doing a game that's just a remake or a re-release of something, it doesn't take much, and it means the world if you add just like a 4-hour like single mission of something to the end of it. That should become standard at this point. And it gives people who already own the game a reason to buy it. I realize that Kirby is basically a complete overhaul. So I'm talking more about like the cases where they bring over new Super Mario
Oh yeah,
Brothers and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just the same game, or like Mario 3D World. Like this is something they should keep doing. Give us epilogues, give us prologues, give us something before and after. When you inevitably bring Smash Brothers to your next Nintendo system and you port over this version because you're not ever going to do a different one. Add a couple of characters, something. All right, so what's next? Oh, also another side note is when I read this, like I started to get excited for Kirby Return to Dreamland. And then when I got home from work, I turned on my Switch and I saw that I have Kirby Star Allies on there. And I've pretty much never played it. The playtime's like under 2
Oh,
hours.
well, there you go.
So I'm just gonna I'm just gonna play that and tell myself it's the new Kirby game. um all right, new Super Mario Brothers movie clip. Did you watch it?
I did, and
It's like 2
I
seconds long.
appreciate if Seth Rogen's not going to do his laugh.
But wait, he did the laugh, didn't
No,
he?
I don't think he did in the clip. So because
I thought he did.
I don't think he did it. I could tell it was him, but it wasn't like blatantly it's him. So I was okay with it.
I thought it sounded exactly like him, and I was already thinking about the people who are going to be like, "Oh, Chris Pratt's just doing Chris Pratt, and now Seth Rogen's just doing Seth Rogen," which doesn't matter to me because, like, this is a movie. It's if they were doing those voices in a video game, I'd be like, "That's out of place." But
I
it's
mean,
a movie;
I,
they can be themselves. They're
Donkey
actors.
Kong's my favorite, and I don't want to sit through a movie where he has the voice he has in games.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And I think we talked about this on the show too. I don't think the Mario voice would work for a full 2-hour movie. The video game. Can you imagine everything is super Italian? Like, like that would get old really quick.
yeah, you're probably right. But no, I mean it looks entertaining, and I thought it was.
Thank you so much for playing my game.
Thank you for watching the movie. There is no post
Oh yeah,
credits.
that should be the post-credit sting is the original Mario voice. I'm blanking on the guy's name.
Charles Martinet,
Saying thank you so much for coming to my movie.
and it's just that Mario 64 floating head.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it still looks good to me. I thought it was funny that they get the cat suit in there already from 3D World.
Yeah, what other suits do you think will show up? I hope they have the boot from Super Mario
Oh,
Bros.
that would be
3.
great.
That boot is so underutilized in that game. I completely forgot until the last time I played through it and it like stuck with me. Cause in my mind, I remember as a kid like loving that power up. And then I played through it as an adult and I'm like, man, this thing's used in like 2 levels.
Yeah, the boot and the frog suit I feel like are underutilized. The frog suit would be funny to see.
That too, yeah. Um I don't think we're gonna get a cape from Super Mario World, although that I feel like I'm torn on that. From what I've seen so far, it doesn't look like it fits the aesthetic of the movie. But on the other hand, I feel like if you're like in the marketing department for this movie, if you're like doing what Marvel does and you're like, what do people know about Mario? Because that's all going
Yeah.
in. Like the cape is very iconic. It's like right after the Tanuki suit, probably. There's like, it's like fire flower, Tanuki suit, cape.
I don't know if you're gonna get the Tanuki suit in the movie.
They got him, man. Have some faith. They got the cat suit.
Yeah, I think the cat
No?
suit's gonna be a throwaway gag thing.
You don't think we're getting any Tanuki? You don't think Limp Bizkit's going to show up and say, I did it all for Tanuki. Come on, Tanuki.
No, I
All right, that's a bad prediction. I'll agree with
my
you. But I
prediction
think,
actually, and I know nothing. I'm going in blind, but that the Metal Mario power up will factor into the end fight with Bowser.
is he going to chase someone on a motorcycle because it looks exactly like the T1000?
Well, now I want him to.
that that power up was so awesome as a kid too. Like, and speaking of underused Mario power ups, the invisibility cap in that game, Mario 64, another power up where I think you only need it for like you need it to get the red coins in the level where you get the cap. So it almost doesn't count because it's like this is the cap level. Of course you need the cap. Um you need it for like 2 stars, I think.
That's when I completely forgot was even a power up. So
Yeah, 3. I'm thinking so you need if you don't count the so besides we'll count the red coins. So there's the red coins in that level you need it for. That's 1. You need it to walk through the ice uh castle. That's 2. You need it to go through the painting in Big Boo's haunt. That's 3. There's a 4th one that I thought of a second ago that I'm now blanking on. But okay, so you use it more, I guess, than I thought, but still, I still feel like I don't remember playing with that cap a lot. Certainly not as much as the wing cap or the Metal Mario. And the last piece of news here, Walmart, Best Buy, and Amazon Canada, and EB Games, have started relisting the long-delayed Advance Wars 1 and 2 boot camp. The collection was originally meant to be released on the Nintendo Switch family of systems back in December of 21, but the game was pushed back indefinitely due to the Russian military invasion of the Ukraine. Now Advance Wars 1 and 2 Boot Camp has reappeared on numerous retail sites worldwide, sparking debate that the Nintendo company is ready to commit to a firm release date for the collection. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp is a joint project between WayForward and Nintendo. What do you think? Is it finally coming?
no, I think it's just gonna have a placeholder date on all those things now.
But come on, man. It was supposed to be out over a year ago. Like 14 months ago was that release date.
No, I think you're still gonna have to wait a little bit.
Why? What makes you think that?
I've
It's time. They developed this game. They're going to put
Oh,
it
they're
out.
gonna put it out,
It's
but right
finished.
now they, lost it between the couch cushions and they're looking at other stuff. So I don't think.
But they don't have a lot going on right now. They don't have anything till Zelda.
I
Well, they have
I don't
Kirby, I
think
guess,
Advance
but
Wars is a priority for them to get out.
but they got to put
Oh,
it
they
out at some
will.
point. They put money into
They
making.
will.
Well, when are they going to put it out then?
Probably 2024.
Real? You don't think it's coming out even this year?
Like
I'll
like
take that bet.
January 2024.
I think it's coming. I
They're
think
going
it's
to be
coming
like,
out this year.
"Oh
I
yeah,
think.
that's done. Oops. Aha, it's out."
I think it's coming out this year. I think it's coming out before Pikmin 4. I'll even say that.
Eh,
Because it's not coming out as something that's going to move the needle in any way. It's not coming out as like a here's our big game for the
no, I
month.
know. I know
It's
this
just
is
coming.
just it's a niche thing but yeah, January 2024. That's when you're going to get your Advance Wars.
All right, I'm going to say before Pikmin 4. I don't know when that's going to be, but I think Pikmin 4 is coming out fourth quarter this year. I think that's what they're going to announce in the direct. Again, these are all just crazy predictions, and it'll be great throughout the course of this podcast to see how these predictions go. But yeah, my predictions are Nintendo Direct like last week of February or first week of March, announcing in it somewhere the release date for Pikmin 4, and they're not going to mention Advance, or maybe they will put Advance Wars in there. I don't know. Have you played Advance Wars? Is that a game you like?
I feel like I tried it whenever it originally came out, but I don't really remember
Yeah.
much about it.
I played the first one, and I think the second one came out when I was like deep into college and wasn't playing video games because you don't have any time when you're in college. There's like a big gap in my life where I wasn't playing any video games, and I've gone back and played most of the stuff I missed from that era, but that I never played Advance Wars 2. But yeah, it's confirmed here on our podcast. It'll be out this year before Pikmin 4. Rumors. I got one rumor for this week. In a new rumor doing the rounds on Amazon, in a new rumor doing the rounds, Amazon has apparently coughed up $600 million for the Tomb Raider franchise, which would include games, movies, TV rights, merchandise, etc. The deal was apparently recently finalized by Embracer Group, which owns the Tomb Raider IP after purchasing a number of Western studios formerly owned by Square Enix. If it turns out to be true, then it would be Amazon's second big purchase after acquiring the rights to the Lord of the Rings series, and Amazon has yet to confirm this. So that's what makes it a rumor.
Is there really that much demand for that much Lara Croft?
There actually is. It's a series that I feel like is being ignored probably because it's changing hands so much, especially in the last couple of years. But if you look at that list that you can find online of the highest grossing video game franchises, it's equal to Zelda. They have the same number of millions of dollars made. I forget what it is. But of course that's because it's including the movies, but still it has brought in as much if you give Tomb Raider the movies, give Zelda the fact that they have way more successful games, so they should be worth more. And no, Tomb Raider kills it. Tomb Raider's got a fan base that people don't really know about.
Well, that's true because I never really got into the series, but I don't know anybody who's a fan.
Well, the last thing I knew is they were developing a mobile game, and they released like an image for they released like Lara Croft's model that she was going to look like in the game, and it looked ridiculous. It was like it looked like it was made for like preschoolers. You know what I mean? Like look like what are those figures called that like the play school
Yeah,
people
yeah.
things? That's what it looked like. And obviously that game's probably not happening now, especially if they sold it. But there's been no news about that app. So it's probably not happening. But yeah, it's a franchise that gets slept on. Here's an interesting thought experiment I think of anytime Tomb Raider comes up. So Indiana Jones inspired Tomb Raider. Not a lot of people know this, but I don't think a lot of people know this, but the original, when they were developing Tomb Raider, the original character was basically Indiana Jones. And the director was like, change that. It's too on the nose. So they basically made Lara Croft. Lara? Lara Croft. Someone's going to hate me.
I don't know which way is the right way to say her name.
But anyway, here's my thought experiment. So Indiana Jones inspires Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider inspires Uncharted. So now today, if they were to take the Uncharted formula and make an Indiana Jones video game, would people say it was an Uncharted ripoff? Since even though it like started the whole
Probably.
thing? I don't know if they would. I think they're smart enough to say Uncharted is an Indiana Jones ripoff.
Nah, I think you're giving the internet too much credit there. So.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say. But yeah, Tomb Raider, it's a bigger brand than you realize. It's not, you know what? I'm going to bring up the list because why not? If you're curious. List of best-selling video game franchises. Oh, this is not the list I was referring to. Ugh, you can never find it when you need it. But you know what? Let's go off of this list. Where's Tomb Raider on this list? Do. Stand by. How you doing, Sean?
I'm good. I'm guessing top 20.
All right, here's the list. Come on. Man, it is like if you ever want to not find something, bring it up live on a podcast.
Seems to be the only time the internet doesn't work.
Okay, here it is. Okay. So, top 50 highest grossing video game franchises. Pokemon is number 1 with 90 billion in sales. And of course, the reason I like this list is it's not just games. This tells you truly how strong a brand is because it's including all merchandise, movies, TV shows, anything. So altogether, as of when they made this list, which I think was like a year ago, Pokemon's made 90 billion. Mario is next with 30 billion. And we're going to go down here. Where was Tomb Raider? If I remember correctly, it was right next to Zelda. Yep. So Zelda is 37 with 3 billion. Zelda is 3.4 billion and Tomb Raider is 3.1 billion.
Wow.
So yeah, they've made a lot of the billions. Is that billion? Is it billion or million? No, it's billion.
Yeah, I was just say
I had to check.
3.1 million. Wow.
Well, no, because I thought maybe I don't know what I thought, but I wanted to make sure that was correct. And after Tomb Raider at number 30, so Tomb Raider's between Zelda and Smash Brothers, 2 Nintendo franchises. Smash has made almost even 3 billion.
That's kind of impressive considering how few games there are.
Number 50 is Mortal Kombat with 1.8 billion. That's the bottom of the list. So, yeah, I think it's if they paid 400 million for it, they could definitely here's what they'll have to do. They're going to have to do or was it was 600 million. Oh wow, is the rumor. So yeah, if they paid 600 million for Tomb Raider, they're going to have to do what Disney did with Star Wars and right away start turning stuff out. Like, okay, in 1 year we're going to get a Tomb Raider Netflix series or Amazon. Amazon bought it, so they'll put it on their own streamer. So we're gonna get a Tomb Raider Amazon series, followed by a Tomb Raider movie and a Tomb Raider trilogy of video games.
Yeah,
I wonder if that lets them re-release the old games.
it's a good question because I don't think the company that made the old games exists anymore.
It doesn't. And I know like what ties that up a lot of times is like you got to pay all the people that worked on that game. So like I don't think if you buy the new one, I don't know. I don't know. If you know how that works, send us a long email because I'm curious about that. Like how does re-releasing old games work paying the people who worked on that stuff?
Because going back to GoldenEye, I'm sure that was a big, long, crazy process.
Yeah. I agree. Yes. We should move on to our spotlight this week. So the spotlight this week was Kirby's Adventure. It was randomly picked, and we were happy it was. Did you do a lot of Kirby adventuring?
So I played it and I only got up to the moon and the sun boss fight and I couldn't beat it because I'm on like
What?
this not using save states kick. But yeah,
You don't need a save
I
state.
know.
I thought this game was really easy, top to bottom.
This is gonna sound ridiculous, but the floaty controls throw me off sometimes. And
No, I get what you're saying.
so
Like
that
you expect him to be more solid like Mario
yeah,
and come
yeah.
down to earth a little
So
quicker.
I kept like getting myself killed in that fight because of that. And I was like, you know what? I enjoy this, but it's okay if I don't beat it.
Well, there's even some levels you can just fly over completely, which I thought was weird that they didn't catch that when they were designing it.
I mean, it was fun.
Did
The
you,
mini game thing is really cool.
what mini game thing? Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this was the first Kirby game that allowed you to get the
Yep.
powers of the enemies. Did you have any favorite power-ups?
I really like the umbrella, which it doesn't make sense because it makes you float. But that and the sword, I think, were probably my two favorites.
I love how he holds the sword above his head the whole time.
That's
Look what I got.
it's impressive because I'm not guessing it's particularly light.
The cutter is really cool too. That one that like is like spinny fan that goes out.
I don't think no, because I get stuck on those guys. So I think my favorite.
You can get the cut. You get the cutter in the
Oh,
second
then I
level.
never got it.
Okay.
And I like the little museum rooms they have where you can get power up sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's a lot of clever stuff in the game that I enjoyed. I mean, the gunfight thing was probably my favorite,
Yeah, that was cool.
but like even like the times you fight King DDD or however you say his name.
King
Yeah,
DDD.
I like that you still like interact with him in between. I'm assuming he's the unboss. Yeah, I don't know. I liked
Well,
it. The thing I found weird about it, and I don't know if it's me misremembering or if it's the case, the game is really desaturated looking.
well, that's just the Nintendo's capabilities. You're kind of cutting me off at the knees here because the next thing I was going to say was how gorgeous this game looks for a Nintendo game.
I mean, it looks good, but it just, I don't know, it looked very like when it came out and I remember people playing it, I just feel like it was more colorful.
Well, the thing is, this game came out in 1993. The Super Nintendo came out in
Yeah.
1990. So, like, they knew how to compress a game at this point and get the most out. Like, there's stuff in this game, like, there's environments that are, like, spinning, which, like, most people didn't see until, like, Castlevania on the Super Nintendo, you know?
This
Like, that's really advanced for an NES game.
I've always wondered why it came so late in the cycle.
Because, the rules hadn't been established yet, and the original Nintendo had such a big install base at the time. I don't think the Super Nintendo took off as quick. I know it never sold as much. Like, I don't think the Super Nintendo sold as much as the original Nintendo.
No, I don't think it did.
And yeah, so like the Nintendo basically were like, and that's why a lot of games came out on both NES and Super Nintendo, because they knew like, hey, a lot of people have a Nintendo and they haven't upgraded because there's a funny news story you can see at the time when like the Super Nintendo was launching where people just couldn't wrap their head around the idea that like technology advances, home computers weren't really a big thing yet either. Like people hadn't gotten used to the idea that, oh, every couple of years the technology gets better and I got to buy a new one. You know what I mean? Like there were so many people who were like, I already bought a Nintendo. So they were done there.
No, that makes perfect sense because I remember when VHS was transitioning to DVD and having to explain that to
Yep.
people at the video store. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that you're right. I know what you're saying about the colors being desaturated, but I think that's just what the system was capable of. I mean, I think a lot of NES games would look equal. Like, think of how many NES characters are just tan, you know, colorless shapes.
Yeah, I think part of it too, though, is my memory of it's on a CRT TV, and now you're playing it on
Yeah.
HD. So
Because you know what game I remember being really colorful and I threw it on the Switch online thing was remember we talked about Wario's Woods?
yeah,
I remember that being super colorful and it's not. And that was the last game released for the NES. Maybe the NES ran out of color. Maybe as it went.
we put all the
It just
color
got
into
less
the
and less.
16-bit cartridges.
It was like a printer. It only had so much color for its life.
But I like I said, it's a fun game. I enjoyed it. I mean, yeah, I didn't beat it. I don't know what to tell you. I beat Yoshi. They're equally easy.
I actually wrote that as a note here. Is it's funny that Nintendo has both Kirby and Yoshi because you would think the characters would make each other redundant. They're both of them target little kids with their games and have low difficulty levels, and they both eat their enemies.
Yeah, but they do play different enough.
There's fruit. Well, I guess there's fruit in a lot of games. But yeah, you're right. They play differently, but they both have kind of a hover jump.
Yeah.
Like Kirby has the poof poof poof, and Yoshi has that thing. I noticed in Yoshi's Island, because in other Yoshi games he makes a noise where he's struggling
Oh
to
yeah.
jump. In Yoshi's Island, I think they should go back to this. They use the feet as
Oh
the
yeah.
sound effect. It goes like pop, 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 and it's like his feet running. They should go back to that instead of him struggling because it sounds like something else. Sounds like he's got poopies.
And one thing Kirby don't have is poopies.
Yeah, for all the eating he does. But yeah, they're both for younger players, so it's kind of funny that they have both. They're both very colorful, both very round. But anyway, yeah, let's find out what we're playing. Oh, ranking. So, would you rank this above or below?
Congo's
I already
Caper.
forgot the Congo's Caper. I could remember Caper. I couldn't remember
I'd
Congo.
rate Kirby's Adventure above Congo's Caper.
Yeah, I think you'd be crazy if you didn't. So, me as well. These rankings will start to have different
Oh
rankings at
yeah.
some point, I'm sure. But I mean, there's no contest. Yeah, Kirby's Adventure is better than Congo's Caper.
An
So let's pick
adventure is
next week's
always
game.
better than a caper. So.
There's no caper in that game, too. I meant to bring that up last week. Like, what is the caper? They don't rob a bank. Like he's trying to get. the caper isn't Congo's. If anything, the caper is the guy who kidnapped his
It's the
girlfriend.
Demon's Caper.
Yeah, it should be called Demon. That's a much better title, Demon's Caper. I'd play that game. All right, let's spin this random wheel and find ourselves
It's
a
gonna
new
be
game
some
for
like
next week.
obnoxiously difficult thing, and I'll be like, "Yeah, I beat that." What do you mean you beat that?
I have no idea what this is. The winner, NES. It's an NES game, Kung Fu Heroes. Let's get the wiki
Kung
up.
Fu Heroes. All right.
NES game Kung Fu Heroes. Wikipedia. Is this on? Maybe. All right. So I don't know if this is on our what is it called? I keep wanting to call it a channel. Nintendo Switch Online. This might be Japanese only. If it is, we're gonna have to pick a different game off air. It says no. It got a North American release. Okay. It's got to be on there, I guess. The plot: monsters have taken Princess Min captive and have stolen the 10 treasures of the nameless land the game takes place in, leaving everything in sorrow. Kung Fu masters Jackie and Lee return from training and must set out to rescue the princess and find the treasures.
All right.
The player controls one of the characters, Jackie, or Lee, and each level pits the player against countless enemy warriors. The goal is for the player to defeat enough enemies so that the door at the top of the room opens, allowing the player to exit the room and proceed to the next. Enemies' attack and weapons vary throughout the game. There are quite a number of bonus levels that the player can enter. Let's see what the reception is. In Japan, Game Machine listed Chinese Hero on their October 15th, 1984 issue as being the most successful table arcade unit of the month. So I guess it's a table arcade unit. I don't know if we have this, man. I'm starting to wonder if I got a
I kind of vaguely remember
do?
playing a little of it.
Okay. I'm hoping, because when I made this list, I tried to specify the North American Switch Online. So, because I don't know if you know, there's games in other countries we don't get and vice versa.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's the game for next week. We're going to educate ourselves on some Kung Fu heroing. Maybe there'll be some Kung Fu frogs.
Oh, that would be great. That would be like the only time lately there'll be a tie-in between the two shows.
Yeah, check out our other podcast, Ninja Turtle Nerds, for more on the Kung Fu frogs. And thank you all for listening. We have stuff that I can talk about this week. So we have a Twitter. You can find us at Nintendo Therapy. We have an email, which I mentioned before. If you know how legal stuff works, email us. We're nintendotherapypod@gmail.com. And I started, but I'm new at this, so I don't know if I did it right, a Reddit. So we got a subreddit, and if you look up Nintendo Therapy on Reddit, so come join that, and I can figure out we can all have conversations together and talk about Nintendo stuff. Yeah. So thank you all for listening, and we'll be back next week for another episode and some more Nintendo news. And it'll be like, surprise, Advance Wars came out. Sean will be wrong.